I am doing this not because I want to, but because I have to. For years, the Croco-mom theory that Crocodile is secretly Luffy's brother has gone unanswered by our Lord and Savior, Eiichiro Oda. Despite all the fan theories, the perfect in-universe setup to twist the plot like an awkward duck who is definitely not me, trying to pretend he knows how to dance, and the fans who yearn for the Croco-mom theory to be real like children yearn for their minds, our pleas have gone unanswered. But no more. Someone needs to stand up for the important things in life, and that someone is me, dear viewer, because we are about to go on a journey to a world where the Croco-mom theory is real and explore what would have happened if Luffy was actually raised by Crocodile. What would it be like to grow up as a Croco-child? Would Luffy's favorite sauce be Croco-mild? And who would join Luffy's crew in this new reality that is so very, very Croco-wild? And remember by the end of the video to drop a like and subscribe if at any point you smiled. Okay, yeah, that's enough of that. I can't keep this rhyming thing up forever. Let's just get into the story. One of the key things that's different about Luffy's life in this alternate universe is that he actually has a parent raising him under their wing. Since Luffy's father, Monkey D. Dragon, is still off doing his own thing with the Revolutionary Army like in the original timeline, this leaves Crocodile to parent Luffy alone. And I do say alone because Crocodile's presence would mean that Garp wouldn't have to visit Luffy all the time, and Dodon wouldn't have to be recruited by Garp to look after the little rascal. Ace is still under Garp's care per the deal he'd made with Mr. I'm named after the noise a battle droid makes, meaning that Luffy won't be around Ace, or by extension Sabo, very much, making Luffy an only child with much less human connection than in the original timeline. So growing up, it's really just a boy and his Croc, which under normal circumstances would be sort of problematic. Seriously, if there are any parents watching, do not leave your child alone with a crocodile. At least make sure there are two children present, because crocodiles do have a big appetite after all. Crocodile raises Luffy on the island of Alabasta, where Crocodile prefers to camp out because it is the perfect base of operations for the warlord to start building the secret organization Baroque Works from the ground up. And it also means Crocodile pretty much never has to cook lunch for Luffy, because the nation comes with the perk of offering infinite free sand, which is, per the whole it being a desert thing. Since Luffy is raised in Alabasta, this also means he doesn't meet or get close to Shanksudot Island, and will never consume the gum gum fruit, otherwise known by fans who have gone on the journey of a lifetime and are caught up with the series as the Nika Nika fruit. Naturally, this means that Luffy in this timeline is a lot less like Yoga Pants and more like pants made out of cardboard, since he's no longer a very stretchy boy and doesn't exactly have a thing anymore, which is problematic because, as you know, dear viewer, pretty much everyone needs a thing, whether it be having an untailed demon fox sealed inside of you, secretly being an alien from another planet, or simply being a DuckPiece viewer who subscribes to the channel. Wink wink, this is a cry for help. So naturally, Mama Croc comes to the rescue and gives young Luffy his very own thing. But of course, Crocodile is a pretty self-serving and manipulative person, so the thing that the warlord gives to Luffy is not only intended to help the child out, but is also intended to hook Luffy on the idea of joining Baroque Works to help out his dear mother. And what better way to do that than literally hooking the child by giving him a hook for a hand? So Crocodile does exactly that. It also hopes that Luffy would feel sort of obligated to stick around Baroque Works now because the pair is basically matching, and if they separate, how would anyone know they're matching? That'd be terrible. But unfortunately, Crocodile's plan backfires because most children do not want to be seen matching with their mother. It's kind of embarrassing in case you haven't noticed. Plus, Luffy is naturally a free spirit and actively fights against anything that might limit his freedom and restrict him, which Crocodile is very clearly trying to do through subtle and manipulative means. This causes Luffy to develop a dislike of pirates like Crocodile, viewing them as symbols of oppression. Unlike the Marines, who Luffy views as heroes that grant people freedom from the control and manipulation of pirates like Crocodile. Especially because Crocodile as a warlord intentionally distances himself from the Marines that he is supposedly aligned with so that he can go behind their back. This further highlights that Marines are good and pirates are bad, and says absolutely nothing at all about whether Luffy eating Chopper in another alternate One Piece what if timeline was the bite of 87.
Was that the bite of 87?
Luffy dreams about one day growing up to become the hero of the Marines like his grandfather Garp, who Luffy doesn't have negative feelings towards in this timeline, given Luffy wasn't regularly exposed to Garp's poor parenting and neglect. But despite his feelings about pirates, Luffy isn't able to escape Crocodile and run off to join the Marines very easily because Crocodile is a controlling person and always keeps close tabs on the child, making sure a member of Baroque Works is constantly watching over Luffy. Although this doesn't stop Luffy from trying, after all, he's known for pursuing his dreams no matter what. As a young child, Luffy first tries to escape Alabasta by closing his eyes and making Alabasta simply go away. For a second, Luffy thinks he's successful because he no longer sees Alabasta, just a horrifying, endless, dark abyss that stretches on for all eternity and is probably fine. Spooky. Unfortunately, when Luffy opens his eyes again, Alabasta is still there. He just hasn't developed object permanence yet because, you know, he is still a small child. Defeated by this, Luffy goes back to the drawing board until he's ready to try another escape plan, which takes about a year to think up. Which, yeah, it makes sense that it would take about a year for him to think up the next plan on a drawing board because you've seen his Fishman Nami drawing in the original timeline. Homie's not even at that point yet. He has years to go to ascend to that level. Boy's in for a long ride.
One long ride later.
As an upgraded child +1, better known as a child who is 1 year older, Luffy tries to escape to join the Marines again, but this time he tries to do so a bit more creatively. Luffy doesn't know how to swim and doesn't know how to pilot a ship, so he does the next best thing and slowly starts moving sand from the island into the sea to create a path he can just simply walk on to get to where he wants to go. It takes a long time for the Brokeworks agent watching over Luffy to realize what's going on because the agent is incapable of understanding the genius of Luffy's plan, and not because Luffy's plan is so silly that it could never possibly work, because that would just be ridiculous to our viewer. Of course, this is how things work. When the agent finally realizes what's going on, they immediately alert Crocodile, who stops Luffy personally. Since it took the agent a while to connect the dots, Crocodile decides to upgrade Luffy's future supervision to a much more trusted member of Brokeworks, Mr. 2, otherwise known as Bon Clay. Over the years, Luffy tries to escape many times, but is always thwarted by Bon Clay. Despite this, their bond grows because Luffy and Bon Clay are destined to become friends no matter what, just like in the original timeline. And Luffy is especially open to it here because he basically grew up as an only child with much less human connection than in the original timeline. Plus, the pair just naturally get along since they both have kind hearts. This eventually leads to Bon Clay, one day shortly after Luffy's 17th birthday, coming to the conclusion that instead of stopping Luffy from escaping, he finally wants to help Luffy, the boy that he's befriended and grown so close to after all this time. So Bon Clay, who can actually pilot a ship, smuggles Luffy onto a Brokeworks ship in the middle of the night so that Crocodile won't notice, and sets off to sea in search of a marine base. Bon Clay intends to simply drop Luffy off and then return home, doing a solid for his Nakama. But on their journey, Luffy makes Bon Clay an unexpected offer. As someone who is going to one day become the hero of the Marines, Luffy knows he will lead a really strong Marine crew, so Luffy asks Bon Clay to join the Marines alongside him. His heart warmed by the offer, Bon Clay lovingly accepts and symbolically becomes the first mate of the future hero of the Marines. Officially a crew, the pair confidently continues onward, only to eventually realize that neither of them knows where the Marine base actually is. They didn't think that part through, and neither of them is a particularly skilled navigator. I mean, heck, Luffy can barely navigate better than Zoro, and Bon Clay is a ballerina, and I don't see how being really good at spinning in a circle would help here. So they wander around the seas aimlessly for quite some time until they happen upon Drum Island by chance. They decide to dock to ask the locals for directions. When they land, Luffy and Bon Clay encounter Dalton, the chief royal guard serving under Discount Pac-Man on Drum Island. At first, Dalton is concerned that the pair is there to raid the island, like the Blackbeard pirates did not too long ago. But Bon Clay assures Dalton that he and his Nakama are on the side of justice and true freedom, the Marines. They're not looking to harm the people of the island like the Blackbeard pirates, so Dalton has nothing to worry about. Dalton sighs in relief and lets his guard down, mentioning that he admires Luffy and Bon Clay's motivation, given that the world needs freedom and protection from pirates like Blackbeard. Hearing this, Luffy has an idea. He offers for Dalton to join his Marine crew, recognizing that Dalton would be a good fit given his sincerity and kind heart. Dalton is at first hesitant because he has a duty to Discount Pac-Man and the people of Drum Kingdom, but Luffy assures him that Dalton would be able to do much more good for the kingdom and their freedom by working with the Marines. Dalton accepts Luffy's offer to join his Marine crew and says he can guide Bon Clay and Luffy to the nearest Marine base from aboard the ship itself. So the trio set sail together and in what feels like no time at all, arrive at the Marine base. Luffy smiles that classic Will of D smile, finally able to taste freedom from his controlling mother for the first time in his life and ready to finally make progress on his dream of becoming the hero of the Marines. Luffy, Bon Clay, and Dalton have no idea what's in store for them in the future or who else will join their Marine crew down the road. But what they do know is that this is the start of a brand new grand adventure for the three of them, one that they will never forget and will always cherish. Just like how you should never forget to drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Both really help me out, since otherwise the algorithm will suppress my video. I really appreciate it. Seriously, thank you. Also follow me on Blue Sky and Twitter. I use Blue Sky a lot more because it's wholesome as heck, but I use both from time to time. My handles are the screen and links are in the description. By the way, do you want to know what would happen if Luffy ate Chopper? Chopper probably doesn't, but I sure as heck do. Click on the video on the right side of the screen to find out. Or click on the video on the left side to watch a video that YouTube's algorithm personally and calculated you would absolutely love to watch next based on your watch history. Anyway, that's all for me. DuckPiece out.